podcast. Thank you for tuning in to the Urban Debate. I'm Avni Raja. We are going to focus on the first topic today, which is the announcement for India's squad for the home series against Sri Lanka was made today, and the suspense is over. Rohit Sharma is India's test captain. Now, with this, Sharma is the team's captain in all formats of the game. Jasprit Bumrah will be the vice-captain, but surprisingly, Cheteshwar Pujara and Ajinkya Rahane's names were omitted from the team. The two senior cricketers seem to have been dropped owing to their lackluster performance in the recently concluded series against South Africa. As a captain for all formats, however, the pressure on Rohit Sharma is going to be immense. In fact, that's what we are going to talk about. Let's welcome Charu Sharma, who's joining us here on the show. Thank you very much, Charu, for speaking to us. And that's really the first question here. Of course, Rohit Sharma was the front runner. It was perhaps on expected lines. But the pressure now on him is going to be immense, given the responsibility he has to shoulder as the captain of all formats.
Well, theoretically, yes, Avni, but he's a lucky man. There was a while, 4 or 5 years ago, that he wasn't even a regular in the Indian Test team, and here he is now captaining the Indian Test team and the white ball teams as well. The reason I suggest that the pressure may not be too much on him at this point of time is because India are playing at home. And Sri Lanka, well, no disrespect, are not at their finest. I mean, they're a fine team. And of course, conditions will be pretty similar for the Sri Lankans as well. But when we're playing at home, as you know, India are very, very strong. They tend not to lose, certainly not to the Sri Lankans. So I don't think Rohit's going to be pressured under the situation. If he was overseas, maybe Australia, England, or South Africa, he, may or may not have done as well. But at home, chances are India will continue to do well. And yes, he's missing a little bit of experience. You mentioned that, and it's probably your next question. But I don't think, for two reasons, that there'll be no pressure on him or less pressure on him. One, as I've just mentioned, they're playing at home. And two, he is a very experienced man. He's not like a youngster or anyone, who hasn't got a lot of international cricket under his belt. And C, of course, let me add the third reason. In terms of disposition, he's got a very calm, pleasing, happy disposition. Yes, I mean, he did kick the ball away yesterday during the T20. Everybody has a right to get a little upset, but he's also a calm man. And as calm people tend to, I don't think he is going to take the pressure the mantle very heavily. It's not going to be a crown of thorns.
Fair enough, Charu. I, in fact, completely agree with you on all points there. But the other part is with respect to his health. And I mean, he has been suffering from injuries and has had to be rested as well. That is the other aspect. And also, of course, like some have pointed out, age is also not on his side at the moment. Given what is your perspective on these aspects?
Well, he's not a fast bowler. So as a batsman, and he sort of can turn his arm a bit if he wishes as an off-spinner. There is less physical pressure, and batsmen just have that big advantage. Of course, there are some bowlers who bolted very late. I mean, there's Anderson, Broad, and a few others. But as a batsman, you can play to a reasonable degree of efficiency till you're maybe in the late 30s, even 40s. So on that score, I wouldn't be too worried about his age. Now, he has gone through a lot of therapy and recovery at the NCA in the last, 2-3 months. So hopefully he's fit. He's shown that in the T20 series and the ODIs that he's pretty fit. In test matches particularly, you don't have to run very hard. You don't have to take those quick singles. And, it's generally a slower pace. So I think on all fronts, if he's fit enough for the test series, then, and of course, he's gone through all sorts of rehabilitation, then chances are he's going to take that pretty well. No hectic T20 running, and he's fortunate. He's playing in India. There's no fast running involved between the wickets, so there's no desperation anywhere in test matches. And I think if he's fairly fit, he can post up those big scores that we expect from him.
Right. But that's as far as this series is concerned. I mean, a little more perspective on, what you see him as a captain of all formats, even as we go ahead and on to other series internationally as well. How do you see him, panning out?
Well, when there's a long series, away particularly, where there's, say, 5 ODIs and 5 T20s and 3 test matches and what have you, that's where there's a little bit of fatigue that sets in, even though cricket is relatively easy-paced. You've got plenty of time between matches and so on and so forth. So in series which are shorter, the pressure on the captain obviously is less because you don't have to keep switching formats. You don't have to worry too much about what's going on. And of course, playing at home has massive advantage. So on all scores, I think he's going to be okay for the moment. But when India play a long series, and even as I say that, very often these days you don't see long series because time is so short. People have to play so many countries over just 1 year. So series tend to be shorter than they were in the past. On all scores, I think the kind of disposition he has, the kind of person he is, his attitude, his character, his personality, it is probably something that will sit easily on his head, Rohit Sharma. Let's not forget, he's been captain of various teams for very long. There's nothing new to him, and he's not likely to be pressured. A little Dhoni-esque, if I might say, because Dhoni too took it very lightly. It's like, you remember just before the final of the 2011 World Cup, a lot of people asked Dhoni saying, so what now, World Cup final? He said, isn't it just another match? So I think Rohit's going to take it pretty much like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a slight divergence here. The Rahane and Pujara as well as Ishant not being considered and being dropped. Your thoughts on that?
Well, you always feel a little sad when the baton passes. And, Rahane and Cheteshwar have had both a very long run. So has Ishant, played over 100 test matches. I suppose they'll remember their career fondly. They haven't gone out on a high. They haven't gone out with, say, an India series. So that's the unfortunate part, because an India series particularly is usually very good for batsmen. So both Ajinkya and Cheteshwar, I have no doubt, had they been included in this team here again in India, might have done very well again. And again, the selectors would have been in a bit of a dilemma, saying that, oh gosh, these guys have done well again, because in India, of course, they're so used to the conditions. And so in that sense, they're a little unfortunate. But on the other hand, you know how it is. When the guard changes, you always feel happy for the new people who come in, because they are hungry, they work very hard. India has so much talent. You can get 2-3 teams out of the top Indian players. So much as it's a double-edged sword, or should I say it's both sides of a coin. One, you feel sorry for those who soldiered for so long for India. But on the other hand, you feel very happy for those who are coming in, because there's so many people knocking on the doors. And for batsmen particularly, and spinners, it's a great time to play in India, because you're likely to do well.
Yes, and also 3 names, of course, were spoken about today as to be groomed as future captains: KL Rahul, Rishabh Pant, and Jasprit Bumrah. Of course, your thoughts on these 3 names, and of course, obviously, the fact that you do need people to be groomed as well going forward.
Yes, there's a little bit of overstating here, because most of the players who are fairly senior in the Indian national team are already groomed. I mean, they're captaining various sides anyway, and they've handled that pressure before. I thought KL is a sort of a natural slip into this position. Unfortunately, he got to skipper the Indian team in South Africa, which didn't work out too well for him. Had India done well under his captaincy there, then of course he would have been an automatic sort of shoe-in for the captain now. But I think he is choice number 1. I'm a little surprised, pleasantly so, for Jasprit Bumrah, because fast bowlers tend not to be captains very often, because, well, Pat Cummins is, but, so that's an aberration. Maybe people are thinking Rishabh Pant is too soon for him. So Bumrah is a sort of a stand-in between those two. But it looks to me that KL, if he continues his good form with the bat, that's important. You've got to carry, your form through, is probably the next captain. And if he stays there long enough, then it's going to be, sorry, you might have lost me there. Just a second. I'm going to be right back. Hold on. If I'm back now, yes? Okay,
yes,
good.
Yes, you're back, Charu. You're back.
I don't know how technology works. So there was a call in the middle, and it was terrible. But so it looks to me that Jasprit Bumrah might stay vice captain for very long, because once another 2 or 3 years are over and KL Rahul captains after Rohit Sharma, it could be Pant's turn. And Bumrah may never, oh gosh, please, I hope he's not hearing this, may never captain India, because fast bowlers really, traditionally you sweat it out, you work really hard, it's a tough job. And once you bowled 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 overs, you want to just take it easy. There's drinks on the side of the boundary, and you tend to field in various positions where there's not, that much attention on every ball of the game. So Jasprit, if he ever makes captain, I'll be very pleasantly surprised for him. But I think it's going to be KL if he holds his form after Rohit. And if Pant continues with his decent form, because, people at this point of time, I think, is a little impetuous. But he scored so many runs in so many match-winning situations for India. So why not Rishabh Pant captain 2-3 years from now, once Rahul is over his term? So we'll see about all of that. But Jasprit is a bit of a surprise right now. You might remember about 2 weeks ago or so, there was something in the newspapers about Bumrah saying, well, if I'm made captain, I'm happy to. So obviously he's happy with the job.
Yes.
Our vice captain, but I think it's going to be a little rare for even India after Kapil Dev to sorry, give me a second, I'm right back, to have a fast bowler as the captain.
All right, Charu, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us with your perspective.
You're most welcome.